So you take all of these things combined and you look at the fact that there is no true proven leader in our community, particularly the Black community. If you don't believe me, can you name three African American leaders? I'm talking about solid leaders that have an ecumenical, a very strong, godly blueprint and an ethical, moral resolve for our country. I'll wait. In fact, put them in the comments because that's the problem. There is a void of leadership in the Black community. I think there's a void of leadership when it comes to racial reconciliation and racial. I was recently asked, do I feel if America is headed towards a civil war, or maybe even a racial war? And it took me a few days to really gather my thoughts. In fact, I prayed about this and I wanted to give an intelligent, but maybe even a spirit-led answer. I believe that we are on a path, a trajectory towards a civil unrest we've not seen the likes of in decades. In fact, when you see the mounting pressures of Chicago, of Washington, D.C. After the Charlie Kirk assassination, it seems as if the church, as if America, as if our communities are at a divide. To add the political rhetoric and all of the no nonsense, just total insensitivity to human life. You know, it's one thing for someone to pass away, but we went to a political and a racial conversation, you know, notwithstanding the fact that this was somebody's husband, somebody's father, someone's friend, someone's son. But yet we took the side of political jargon. We took the side of civil, ungodly unrest to make our state. And I think it's an unfortunate thing. So you take all of these things combined and you look at the fact that there is no true proven leader in our community, particularly in the Black community. If you don't believe me, can you name three African American leaders? I'm talking about solid leaders that have an ecumenical, a very strong, godly blueprint and an ethical, moral resolve for our country. I'll wait. In fact, put them in the comments because that's the problem. There is a void of leadership in the Black community. I think there's a void of leadership when it comes to racial reconciliation and racial restoration. Because of that, we hear nothing but from the ultra left and liberals who are just shooting in the barrel of some type of solution. What we need now is not a civil rights movement, a political rights movement. We need a spiritual rights movement. We need people to know their God-given authority and positioning to bring healing to a country, healing to a nation, healing even to the church. So somewhere between the Tucker Carlsons, the Candace Owens, yes, even the Jamal Bryants and all of these so-called spokespersons of the world, my fear is that we are being led by the lost. What do you mean by that? The blind is leading the blind. We need true men and women of God to stand. I don't care if you're white, black, polka dot, or plaid, or paisley. Have some courage, have conviction, have some grit, and stand your ground. This is not the time to waver. This is not the time to waffle back and forth, depending on being cultural canceled or politically correct. No. What has God put in you? What has your parents taught you? What has life evolved for you? Do you stand for anything? The late Dr. Martin Luther King reminded us, and you've heard this infamous quote, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. What are you standing for? Whether it's online, social media, on the job, or whatever platform you have, we need men and women of courage and conviction. Draw a line in the sand as it relates to what it is God has put into your heart. Draw a line in the sand as it relates to issues that everyone seems to be at odds about. For me, as for my house, we will serve the Lord. I take all 66 books of the Bible and I treat it as if it is God speaking today, as he did yesterday and tomorrow forevermore. As it relates to Israel, Israel has a right to defend her nation, her lands. She has a right to her existent homeland. She has a right to the property that God gave her and to defend that property. I believe that God's hand is on Israel and the Jewish nation, no matter how unpopular it might seem to be. I believe that God's hand is yet on America America, but if we don't stand with Israel, if we don't stand with the God of the Bible, if we don't stand on biblical principles, we too one day will be a nation lost. Hey guys, if this content is of value and a blessing to you, I simply ask one thing. Would you take a quick moment, hit the subscribe button, subscribe for the latest updates, latest content, latest developments. I really, really appreciate it. Now, let's get back to the content. Lost. And all of the prophetic utterances, all of the prophetic warnings will have gone to waste because we rose up to play and we played a deaf ear. So these things being said, number one, pray. Bible says, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, seek God's face, turn from our wicked ways. We cannot side with the LGBTQ community. How can light walk with darkness? You got to draw a line and say enough is enough. It was one thing to be tolerated. Now you want control. Now you want to walk this thing. And anyone who doesn't walk with you are fearmongers or homophobic. No, that was a campaign from the very beginning. So we don't side ourselves with false religions and false gods. We stand unilaterally on the one God of the Bible. He is the God of Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac, and he gave us his son, Jesus, who is the Christ. Now, these things being said, can we agree on some things? That's the betterment for our country. Can we agree on some things? That's for the betterment of our nation and for our world, for that matter. The earth groans for the raising up and the rising of the true sons and daughters of God. And I believe you're one of them. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening to this video, I believe there's a call of God on your life. Shake off the fear, shake off the phobia, rise up and make a difference. Be known for standing for something. Write your books, create your podcast. May your voice be heard on high, but most importantly, have something you can stand on in this very trying and desperate evil day. I'm Dr. Michael Anthony Stevens. Thank you for taking time to listen. I do encourage you to subscribe, to like. If there's any value in this encouragement to you today, maybe for someone it's just a confirmation that, you know what, maybe I do need to get off the fence. Maybe I do need to get off of this land of idleness and say something and be someone and do something. First of all, let me give you a little hint. You ain't going to have friends from everywhere, from all backgrounds. You ain't going to please everybody at all times. So you might as well get used to disappointing somebody. They say whoever leads the orchestra must first be willing to turn his back on the crowd. And social media, boy, it is no place for those who have thin skin. You have to thicken up your skin, put your blinders on, draw your mark, and make a difference. Thanks for watching. Until the next video,